Hello, homeschoolers. I am Novi Antan and welcome to ihomeschoolph YouTube Pascal, where we'll talk about what really matters most in our homeschooling journey. And today po, ang topic po natin is very interesting. And this is all about homeschool provider. And I do believe it is important in our homeschool journey, especially how we choose, ano ba talaga ito behind the providers. And I do believe when we choose the provider, this is someone that or something or an institution that we could be able to build our trust with. So these two people that I've invited for our podcast today or our YouTube podcast, they are really pillars of the homeschool community here in the Philippines. So, first, I would just like to introduce, she's the principal of Peniel Integrated Christian Academy of Rizal, treasurer of Homeschool Association of the Philippine Islands, called HAPI. Actually, I've known this woman for a long time, more than a decade ago. I think nung nag-start pa lang ako mag-homeschooling, that's 15 years ago, nandyan na po siya.
Yes.
And she's one of the people that I really can trust in this topic. So, let us welcome Audrelyn Villegas. Ate Au, hello!
Hello, Novi. Good afternoon. Actually,
Yes.
co-op days pa lang namin, magkasama na kami ni Novi.
Oo nga.
Yeah.
Nako. Thank you, Ate Au, for being
Yeah,
here.
thank you also.
Yes. And our next guest, ay nako, tinatawag po nila ito, no? Gina, sabihin ko na, she's the mother of the Charlotte Mason Philippines. He's the homeschool mom of four and directress of Living Learning Homeschool, founder of Our Living Learning and Charlotte Mason Philippines. So let us welcome Gina Roldan. Hello!
Hello po. Hi, nice to be here. Amongst pillars, hindi po ako pillar, kayo po ang mga pillars.
Nako!
Napakalaki ng contribution ng Gina.
Oo, ang laki, no? Especially with all the mindsets of the homeschoolers that I've talked to. You're really making a change in this department. Thank you so much, Gina, for all that you are investing. But anyway, our topic. And I know, sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, no, I know this is going to be a safe place. But I think this will be an avenue for homeschoolers to be able to think about, engage, and maybe, hopefully, magkakaroon sila ng wisdom on how to choose their provider. Not only po that, no, disclaimer lang po, we are talking about this, but then again, we're saying na, huy, kami ang paniwalaan nyo at yung iba wag nyong paniwalaan. Or we are coming from in a way that this is our experience, our real life experiences. And if you think it's going to be vital in your homeschool journey, then we will rejoice with you. Pero kung hindi naman po applicable, ay okay din po. So, let us start the ball rolling, mga madam. So, sabi nila, no, homeschool provider, I just make on my own experience as a homeschooler. I believe in my 15 years, parang dalawang beses ako nag-change. Because I do believe, di ba, iba-iba naman yung interest ng bawat pamilya and nag-iiba rin yung vision and mission ng pamilya through the years. But then again, nung time namin ni Ate Peniel, parang talagang sobrang skeleton ng mga mundo noon. Talagang, oo, hindi namin alam kung talagang sino yung totoo, sino yung authentic, alam mo yun, ganon. Hindi mo mag-gauge kung sino talaga yung pagkakatiwalaan mo. And I do believe, DepEd at that time, talagang hindi rin nila maintindihan, no? And I do believe God has given us opportunity, especially in this time of pandemic, na hopefully medyo naiintindihan na nila tayo, o di ba? So, at this point of time, sabi nila, okay, so I'm gonna make a title of this. Siguro wala pa nangyayari kahit sa ibang bansa about this. So, these are the misconception or the myths about a homeschool provider. And we need to debunk this, okay, right now, so that we could be able to help the homeschool community. So my first question, okay, pag may homeschool provider, parang sinasabi nila records lang yan. Oo, records lang ang hinahanap niya. Hindi ko naman kailangan talaga ng parang support group. Okay, sa records lang, so okay na. Ba't ko kailangan niyang homeschool provider na yan? So ano pong masasabi natin dyan?
Homeschool provider kasi, kaya siya tinawag na homeschool provider, di ba? We are actually helping the homeschool families. Yun yung pinaka-concept kasi. It's about reaching out to them, hindi lang in terms of records. Now, here in the setup kasi sa Philippines, di ba, it's important to us na every child kasi is recorded through the DepEd system. Okay? So, technically, there's a school na humahawak, then you have a provider. Kaya lang kasi medyo nalilito yung iba kasi iniisip nila, provider ka, so you're a school, di ba? Yun yung madalas na yung iniisip ng parents, especially if they're new to homeschooling, na your school, then you're offering homeschool. Kaso in our cases kasi, di ba, most school naman doesn't understand fully what is homeschooling is all about. Kaya sila nagkaroon ng tie-up to a homeschool provider na who will do the work for them. So technically speaking, hindi naman siya illegal or bawal or expensive, depende kasi kung ano yung need ng bawat provider. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga certain cost, etc. for a provider. So, in choosing a provider, ngayon na ba ito, yung topic na to, in choosing a provider, you have to really consider yung mga things. So, later in the talk, di ba, iaano mo rin kung ano-ano dapat yung factors na to know whether it is a legit provider or not.
Yeah. So parang tinatanong nila ate is yung ang purpose lang ba ng provider is pang record keeping lang. Okay.
Sa una,
Ganun lang.
yung iba, yun ang iniisip nila. It's about you providing records for us kasi we can enroll anytime when we decided to go back to our regular system. Pero more to that, hindi ka naman mag-i-exist lang ng ikaw lang mag-isa, di ba? You still need the help of the provider itself kasi we have been with this industry for so long. We know the pros and the cons. So dun kami papasok yung mga providers na yun.
Okay, Ate Au, to follow up that question. So would you think, pag sinasabi mong records, no, that really the totality of kumbaga binibigyan ng provider ng identity ang isang bata.
Yes, isang learner,
tama?
yes. Okay, tama.
Thank you for that. Okay. Gina?
Yes, in connection to records, I think besides the records, yes, that's the basic thing that we're providing. It's something that legal documents that children need, if they choose to be part of the DepEd system, that is important. But beyond the records, I think families should have the mindset that it is accountability. If you are accountable to an institution about things that you are doing, that's very important. I think it helps. I'm not saying na para sa lahat siya kasi naging independent rin po ako for a time. But now that I'm with the community, nafe-feel ko po yung sense talaga na, na I have to be accountable with what I'm doing because I'm part of this bigger community and it helps. Nakakatulong talaga na kunwari nakikita ko tong pamilyang to, tong mom na to, nag-ano kami. So, different po yung mindset. It is not just record keeping. Kasi kung record keeping lang, pero kung mindset mo is, alam mo, gusto ko to gawin para makatulong sa sarili ko as a parent, para, everyday bumabangon ako, alam ko ang ginagawa ko kasi may boss akong kailangan bigyan ng grade. Something like that. Just a different perspective for me, yun.
Yeah, I'll add. Yung accountability na sinasabi ni Gina, I think that's also one thing na yung provider will do its best because of the accountability. May accountability kami sa parents, sa mga bata. May accountability din kami sa DepEd. So, that's how it works Hindi lang siya record keeping. But, syempre, when you're accountable, you do your best na mabigay mo lahat sa parents, sa family yung kailangan nila. In return, yung family naman will give you the best results. Yes. So, win-win yung situation na yon.
Yep, true.
Yes, I totally agree with both of you. And the beauty na we could be able to see the check and balance Sometimes kasi, kunyari ako homeschooler, hindi ko type, magturo. Napagod ako or may nangyari sa akin. Doon papasok si provider na dapat ini-encourage tayo, di ba? Kasi doon sa vision ko ano yung meron ka. But before we go ahead, dahil madami pa tayong topic na pag-uusapan, sinasabi nga nila, bakit naman nga yung records or tama yun, no? Pero Novi, napaka-expensive naman ng provider. Bakit ganun?
Everything has its cost kasi. Diba? You just don't do naman homeschooling kasi ito yung madalas ko naririnig Kami naman nagtuturo lahat. Kami naman ang gumagawa. Bakit kayo naniningil? Syempre, before we could do something, before we could provide you with the things you need, syempre yung program itself, you need people also to run it also, di ba? Hindi naman siya pwedeng upo ka lang dyan, turuan kita, then that's it. Di ba? You have to buy a system or you have to study. Di ba? Dami mong gagawin. Even train your teachers na mag-a-assist sa kanila. So it will take also an administrative cost, di ba? Kaya hindi siya, depende kasi, there are some providers, ito to be honest, hindi naman porke nagtayo ka ng homeschool, wala kang gastos. Iba, they still have to rent out the building. May mga ganon na I have to pay the computer, laptops, etc. Ang daming cost na hindi hidden. So, kailangan din ng expenses. And yung paperwork itself will take a lot of people para lang masubmit mo yung a certain document sa DepEd. So that's the reason why we have to charge tuition fees and other fees.
Yes, and to add to that, definitely there are costs. And so maybe what's best for families is to assess each provider because we have there are different tuition fees naman depending on your need. There are others that may be more expensive, but because they have more to offer. So, pero kung hindi mo kailangan ng ganong klaseng services nila, you don't need to go there. So, for me, I think within the homeschool community, there are options. There are many options and we're not saying where you should go. It's a personal choice. Depende po sa way nyo of homeschooling. So, yun po.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you so much for that. So, with that topic na expensive, so pupunta na tayo dun sa curriculum. So usually ang tanong sa akin is this, kung Novi, kung mag-provide tapos meron silang sasabihin na ito yung required kasi sabi ng DepEd. Feeling ko naman, parang hindi naman lahat importante yung sinasuggest nila. So pag punta ako sa private, matatali lang ako tapos I have to do that. Gusto ko ituro to sa anak ko. Ito yung materials na gusto ko. So, sobrang boxy pag sa provider. So, totoo ba yun?
Ikaw mauna, Gina.
Sige, ako. Masasabi ko na there are providers who have box curriculum. Because in truth, there are parents who need a box curriculum. Like what I said a while ago, families are all different. Okay? So, may nag-o-offer po ng box, may nag-o-offer po ng open curriculum. Kami po sa Living Learning Homeschool, we're particular about a method. We're very, very particular. And so, yung mga hindi po gusto ng Charlotte Mason method, hindi po sa amin mag-e-enroll. So, ganun lang po yun. So, again, it's very important to know your provider. And don't be, wag po kayong maano sa, box curriculum yan. Lipat po kayo, tignan nyo po yung iba. and see if, this provider can actually help you thrive in your homeschooling.
Thank you for that, Gina. Ate Au?
Sa amin kasi, what we do, we're open curriculum, but we also follow the DepEd curriculum. Okay, here's the thing. Kasi based on, di ba, years na for meeting several families, iba-iba yung need. Okay? So yung others, the reason why we opted to follow the DepEd curriculum is for the transitioning. Kasi most parents kasi, may mga cases kasi na yung mga parents na, diba, they have this mindset na I'll do homeschooling for a year or two, then after I'll go back. Minsan, pag hindi ka-align kasi, when you go back to the regular school system, hirap ka dahil iba yung curriculum mo. So if you follow the DepEd system, it will be easier for you. Now, the reason behind the open curriculum. Yung open curriculum kasi, most parents na who love homeschooling by heart will do different methods na. You will have a lot of discovery and you will be discovering na, ito yung interest ng anak ko, so I'll do this method. So kaya na-decide namin yung open kasi not to actually limit the parents na pagtuturo, but to maximize everything. Kasi yun yung isang beauty ng homeschool. You can maximize based on the interest, tapos mas malawak yung scope, di ba? Based on history kasi, sa dami na nag-homeschool, ang dami kasi namin may mga interest-led yung learning. So pagdating na nila ng mga college courses, hindi hirap yung mga batang yan kasi na-train na sila ng mga parents nila dun sa tamang method para dun sa bata na yon. So, since homeschooling to, hindi naman porke binigyan ka ng box curriculum, yun lang yung gagawin mo eh. Kasi as you teach, ako personally, hindi ako teacher by profession, nagbago rin yung method ko eh. Depende kasi dun sa pag nakakausap mo na yung mga bata. So ikaw, as a teacher or as a parent, you always adjust dun sa need ng mga bata, hindi dun sa curriculum. Ang nagiging problema kasi, pag nakaano ka na eh, you're so tie up with the curriculum, hindi mo nakikita yung learner itself. So dapat focus on the learner rather than the learning. 'Di ba? Mauuna dapat yung bata bago yung curriculum.
Yes, I totally agree with that, Teacher Au. Pero yun nga, hindi lahat ng ating mga parents yung ganyang benefits. So meron silang misconception about that. That's why sometimes tingin nga lang nila pag provider, yun nga, pera lang kinukuha. Or number two, sinasabi nga nila, isang workshop lang naman binibigay. Wala namang support. Totoo ba yun?
Oh, not for us. I don't think. Hindi kasi I cannot speak for myself. Kasi minsan naman yung kasi ako hindi naman kami kasi we have been hindi naman kami yung provide na enroll ka lang ng enroll, 'di ba? We do certain methods na why are you considering homeschool? Kasi kung hindi ka pang homeschool, sasabihin naman namin agad na don't go homeschooling if you're thinking that way. So, yung support system kasi, yung paano mag-retain yung mga parents mo is the answer itself eh. Hindi naman sila magsistay sa'yo kung wala kang support system.
Yes.
Why? Yan ang hindi ko naman pwedeng spoon-feed yung parents, pero they will know kung if you're supporting them or not. Sila talaga yung makapagsabi, hindi ikaw eh. Yung kahit sabihin kong we do this, we do that, diba? Pero pag wala naman sila sa'yo, wala rin magbabouch sa'yo, wala din. So the best talaga is the parent itself will speak for you.
Totoo yun, no?
Yeah.
Parang, kasi may mga nagrereklamo sa akin na mga parents, sinasabi nila, Novi nga email, di mag-text back. Ang tagal-tagal na. Hindi nagte-text back. Bakit gano'n? Simpleng text back lang, di? Parang provider ka pa and all that stuff, no? Nakakatawa lang. Okay, Gina.
Well, regarding support, like what I said a while ago, each provider has we all have different setups. We all have different ways of supporting our families. Depende po sa goal namin. Kasi iba-iba po ang goal. I mean, we all have certain ways of teaching and, mindset. So, so like I said, iba-iba. Like for us, we really have a lot of equipping because it is important with the method that we are teaching. Kasi yun po yung passion ko eh. Yun po yung gusto ko, yung method. So we try our best to equip our parents for them to actually know the method. But it's because I am a Charlotte Mason provider. Some homeschool providers don't necessarily follow a method because it's either open curriculum or it's box curriculum. So their actions will be aligned with that, 'di ba? So like I said, ang importante talaga, alam mo kung anong gusto mo eh, anong vision mo. Like at this moment, ano yung kailangan mo. Tapos from there, makikita mo, ay, ito kailangan ko. Ay, si LLH, hindi ko kailangan yan. Ito yung gusto ko. So, ganun po. I think that's one way also of thinking about it.
Yes. So, importante talaga by choosing a provider, you know yourself. I mean, you know the values of your family. Mm-hmm. And then, the goal yung sinasabi nga ni Ate Au and Gina a while ago is to really meet where your child is. It boils doon sa making na hindi naman porket may nakita ka dyan, may nag-flash sa internet, provider, enroll ako. No, you have to investigate. You have to research and get to know them if it will match to your family. Now, ito na po tayo. Ito, medyo siguro in detail, sinasabi nga nila na, Novi, alam mo ba, meron ako napuntahang provider, so nagbayad ako, yung pala hindi legal. So, paano ko ba malalaman kung legal talaga ang homeschooling or hindi? Natawa nga ako dun sa isa. Pero this, matagal na to, no? Before the pandemic pa. And I know Ate Au knows this. Na talagang, lalo na pag magte-test ka sa isang state university, hindi nila tinatanggap kasi sinasabi nila na hindi to legal, tong provider na pinasukan mo.
The first thing you should know is check your provider. That's the first thing. Upon checking kasi, yung iba kasi with the tie-up, you should also know kung sino yung ka-tie-up. Kasi ang binibigyan naman talaga ng permit is the regular school. Okay? Yung subject sa approval ng homeschool, ang chine-check is the regular school. Now, yung regular school na yon, will have to submit a homeschool program sa DepEd na i-approve ng DepEd. Now, kunyari, ako, Peniel, nagkataon lang na ako yung school, ako din yung provider, so hindi mahirap dahil akin yung sariling system. Now, in the case of Gina, meron siyang school na ka-tie up, pero yung program niya, yung sinusunod ng school, hindi siya bawal sa DepEd actually, yung ganyang program. Kasi, ang ipapasa naman yung school na kung sino yung ka-tie up ni Gina is yung program mismo ni Gina na homeschool. Ang ina-approve kasi ng DepEd sa homeschool is the program itself, hindi yung school. Ngayon, yung program na yon, siya naman yung magsasubmit doon sa regular school na ka-tie up niya sa DepEd.
Yes.
So, ang accountability nun will be coming from the provider going to the regular school. Yung regular school, siya naman na magre-report ngayon sa DepEd. So, that's how it works. Ngayon, most homeschool providers, kasi di ba we belong to the HAPI group, lahat naman kami, naka-report naman kami sa DepEd na, okay, ito na to, this is, kunyari, ako, Peniel, I am a school, at the same time, a provider, si Gina, living learning, tas may ka-tie up. They know that kasi hindi naman ma-approve yung program if they do not know kung sino yung hahawak ng provider. So you have to check it out, di ba? Ngayon, malalaman mo yan doon sa DepEd system. If you inquire for kunyari, DepEd, hindi mo naman sasabing living learning school, mali yun. Siya lang yung provider. So, may itatanong mo dapat sa DepEd, yung school kung saan accredited yung provider. Yun ang check mo kung may allowed ba yun mag-homeschool o hindi.
At saka siguro, another way to check, kasi I don't know, ngayon ko lang nalaman to, is that there are school pala talaga na naka-set up sila pero hindi sila DepEd accredited. So, number one thing that you can also do is ask for the school ID number.
School ID number.
And then check yung, not the provider, the school partner. Look for the ID number and then ilagay nyo po sa DepEd schools. Tapos makikita nyo na po na, ay oo, ito under DepEd po to. Parang ganun. Kasi may mga na-encounter rin ako na nag-enroll sa amin, pero yung school nila, they were not being given LRNs. So yun ang mga kailangan alam nyo kung even in private schools, actually not just in schooling, di ba? Kahit po online school kayo or kahit anong traditional school, you have to make sure that the school you are enrolling with is DepEd accredited.
One way pa kasi, marami rin kasi na biktima last year when they tried to enroll, tapos wala sila sa DepEd system.
Yan,
ang karamihan kasi reason ng schools na walang permit on process. Diba? We already submitted to DepEd, hindi nga yun ang license sa DepEd. You have to, kasi a year earlier kasi bago ka ma-approvahan. So, there's a certain cut-off date, let's say August, dapat na-submit mo na if you're going to operate next school year. Ganun yung system kasi ng DepEd 1 year ahead. So, hindi siya considered na DepEd accredited kung on process pa lang yung papers. Dapat yan, approve ka muna before you open. That's the general policy of DepEd. So, check it out first with your DepEd. Kung saan, oo nga pala. Madalas kasi, may naghahanap Kunyari, ako Rizal, hahanapin ako sa DepEd system ng NCR, hindi na talaga ako makikita. Okay? So you have to know the region also kung saan yung mga accredited nyo. Kasi minsan, bakit wala ka dun sa NCR? Talagang wala ako sa NCR kasi nandun dito ako sa Rizal. So, gano'n. You have to check that also. Kasi yun yung usually misconception na nagpapanik agad. Hindi rin naman maganda without you actually checking everything. So, check mo rin.
Okay, ang gaganda ng mga inputs. Totoo yun, no? First, the school ID number, okay? And then, you need to know that right type of region. Actually, to be honest with you, actually si mismo si DepEd, wala siya talagang official in such a way na sila rin, through this pandemic, siguro they're still gathering all of those lists. But then again, sinasabi ni Gina and ni Ate Au, meron talagang proseso. You are really needed by a main school for you to be able to say na, yes, I am a provider. Yun. Ano yung tinatawag sa certificate na yun, Gina and Ate Au?
Home education
program. Actually, there are a lot of program na meron ng DepEd May home
So,
education
ang tawag doon,
program, may open
permission
high
or
school.
operate, may tinatawag, I forgot that.
Ano siya? A certificate to operate.
Ayun. Di ba? So, alam niyo po, ang daming pinagdaanan ni Ate Ao ni Gina bago sila ma-accredit. It's not that easy. And I do believe
Yeah.
may mga cost din yun. And the journey is not easy for you guys. But can I ask you like an honest question? If you're gonna, in this journey that you have been and be, you know, choosing to be a provider, iba talaga, no? Iba talagang maging provider ng homeschoolers. Nakakapagod ba? Pero totoo.
Kasi ang deal sa kanila per family, per individual, it's not going to be easy.
Yes.
Saka unlike with the regular school setup, ikaw yung nasusunod lahat eh, di ba? Yung regular school.
So my
This is the program.
question,
Ito, aralin.
yeah, my question is, what did you learn as a provider through this journey na you think, that you could be able to like brief lang na sana ito or kaya later, I'm gonna follow that through. Kung ano yung wish list nyo with DepEd, being a provider as well?
Actually, yung homeschooling kasi, sa akin I treat it as a family. Hindi lang siya yung parang a client type. Kaya siguro nag-enjoy ako dahil yung treatment mo dun sa mga per family, sa family. Talagang yung home-based, homeschool. So, yun, I have nothing to complain kasi iba yung nakakausap mo personally yung yung parents, 'di ba? Iba yung joy kasi pag yung parents mismo ang ka-partner mo, sigurado maganda yung output ng bata. Kasi nag-decide yung parents na sila mismo yung magtuturo eh. Malaking factor yun eh. Kaya nga minsan sa interview parang sa parents, sa tanongin mo, bakit ka nag-homeschool? Kakayanin mo ba mag-homeschool? Yun yung mga honest questions na dapat una mong tanong. Kasi yung iba, when they're thinking of homeschooling, iniisip nila, home, tuturuan sa bahay. Pupunta si teacher, tuturuan si bahay. Hindi siya ganon. Kasi sa atin, mas malawak yung definition natin ng homeschooling eh. It's about family. Diba? Yun yung first dapat. So, ang wish ko naman sa DepEd is since parents naman na nag-decide ng homeschool, yung medyo may onting leeway. Kasi di ba, remember with our HAPI meeting na with the DepEd, ang gusto nila kasi dadaan pa sa testing yung mga parents, kailangan, ang daming requirements, hindi naman lahat has the luxury na mag-enroll sa 18 units, di ba? Hindi siya ganun kasimple. So, as a provider, as a school, pwede naman tayo yung mag-aral for them. Yun lang eh, yung i-qualify nila, yung school itself, yung program itself, na kung it is effective para doon sa mga bata. Kasi yun lang naman ang goal nila eh, di ba? DepEd always says na it is education for all. Yun yung concept eh, kaya nga nila inaprubahan yung homeschool eh, kasi it will benefit a lot of kids, hindi lang. Pero a certain number nga lang yung homeschool compared sa regular school setup. Yung mga bata na yun. So, yung flexibility sana nung guidelines. Medyo ang higpit eh. Imagine magsasubmit ka 1 to 24 para lang ma-approve. Di ba? Hindi siya yung paperwork mo sobra-sobra.
Wow, 1 to 24?
Yes, masyadong marami yung requirements. And after that, yung reporting pa hindi rin easy. Bibigyan mo ng report yung bawat bata. So, matrabaho din
Matrabaho, grabe. And that's the reason why, kasi kami, ako, it's really me. My passion is being driven here. Kilala niyo ako para and nabigla ako to be honest. And the last year, maraming luha, maraming energy, but because like what Teacher Al said, iba yung joy. Iba yung joy na nakakatulong ako sa mga pamilya. Kasi ako, isa rin ako sa kanila sa totoo lang eh. I'm just like them. It's just para ko silang lahat ng barkada. So iba yung joy. Maybe DepEd wish list is sana DepEd can learn more about what homeschooling is really about. That it's not just a matter of parang puro
competencies.
Puro gano'n na dapat by grade 1 kailangan na ito nang alam. Sana lawakan naman nila yung thinking nila about homeschooling because abroad, internationally, we can see the results that, homeschooling students, graduates are really thriving in universities. So maybe that's already one one evidence na sana tignan naman nila ng konti pa. But I'm sure na, you know, they have their hands full really with our system of education. But yun lang, siguro something lang, maybe a department just for homeschool under DepEd. Diba? That would be
Yes.
nice.
Oh, nag-agree
I
ako
was
sa
able
inyo.
to talk kasi sa one of the DepEd official. Meron naman doon kasi iba talaga, hindi nag-succeed. So yun yung check and balance nila through homeschooling. So ayaw din nila na yung biglang nawawalang mga schools. So kaya naghihigpit daw rin sila sa guidelines. Kasi nga, is for the protection of the children nga daw yung concept. So sana evaluate na lang nila based on the actual performance of the schools, diba? May output tayo eh. Yung database na sinasubmit natin sa kanila, gawin nilang gauge na is this school doing good? Diba yung mga ganon?
That's true. That's true. But you know, that is the reality. Marami pong homeschoolers din, but just like in private schools, children fail.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the environment that they're in and with their family. It may not be necessarily the school, di po ba?
Yeah.
It may be the family. So there are different factors doon. Kasi yun ang pati kong sinasabi, ang tanong parati, pag homeschooler ba na may provider, automatic po ba yan na magsasucceed in life, na makakapunta sa mga magagandang university? Sinasabi ko po yung totoo. Maski po ang estudyante na galing sa exclusive school na napakaganda, pwedeng mag-fail. And it's the same with homeschoolers, even if you're with a good provider. Because in the end, una-una, accountability nga po. So, sana makita rin po yun ng DepEd.
Yes, totoo yun. And which sometimes they really watch the podcast, or I mean, listen to our podcast and watch our YouTube. But then again, I do believe, siguro kung mag-a-add ako ng wishlist, sana merong magkaroon na officer na homeschooler siya. Kasi mas maiintindihan niya tayo. Mas maiintindihan nila kung saan din tayo nanggagaling, di ba, Ate Ao and Gina?
Yeah.
Iba rin kasi kung merong ganong departamento. That is my wish list. Kasi I've been dealing with them for many, many years. And hindi nila mag-grasp eh. Meron silang way of structure at how it was built, education. And for them, parang it really takes a lot of time, alam mo yon, for them to gauge where we are coming from. That's one of the wish lists that I want to really sana mangyari one day. O diba? Mali mo si
Malaki
Ate
na
Au.
improvement ngayon. malaki
Yes,
improvement
it's
ngayon.
true.
Kasi the system itself, hinanggap na nila yung homeschooling eh.
Yes.
Nandun na eh. So they already know the exact data, ilan yung nag-consider ng homeschooling. So may data. So sooner or later, magbabago din eh. Saka, a lot of schools now, dati kasi, nung mga panahon namin, pag sinabi homeschool, nagtitinginan kaagad yung mga schools na, may sakit ka ba? May problema ka ba? Bakit ka nag-homeschool? Di ba madalas ganon? Tapos in-interview ka ng mga dean na bakit ka nag-homeschool. Ngayon, because of the pandemic, maraming schools na intindihan yung methodology ng homeschooling. Eh. So, malaki na yung changes ngayon compared dati. Dati pag homeschool, dami pang dami pang pinagdadaanan yung magulang bago ka tanggapin eh.
Yeah,
diba?
I agree.
So,
And
malaki na yung changes.
I agree. Even with before the pandemic, nakikita ko talaga, they're really trying their best to understand us. And I'm really thankful for that as well. And sana nga matapos na yung DepEd policy kasi hindi pa talaga tapos regarding homeschooling. Now, we have talked a lot about this, no? Pero I just want to know, no, especially yung ating mga viewers and listeners will be able to be interested, no? Why did you decided to be a provider? Ano yung naging vision mo and mission mo? Why you're doing what you're doing?
Kasi, in the regular school setup, di ba minsan yung frustration kasi isang bata. Tapos makikita mo yung problema nasa family. Kaya minsan, ang hirap tulungan ng batang yan kasi yung home mismo, problema na itself. Now, when I met Ate Irma, kayo, yung group nyo, ang laki ng factor kasi ng family eh. So nakita ko, sana lahat ng magulang ganito. So pag nagturo ka ng bata, iba pagdating sa discipline, in terms of character, everything. Kasi everything starts with the character. Eh yung character, hindi yan nabibuild lang sa school eh. Nabibuild yan sa home. So if the family is right from the very beginning, yung pati yung education ng bata, sigurado maganda. Kaya na-embrace ko siya ng gusto eh. So, yung homeschool, hindi siya parang naging madali kong tanggapin kasi na-realize ko yung importance na if you really want to build a child, start with the home. Then from the home, you can build a bigger community. So, yun yung goal. Kasi sa akin, hindi lang naman siya yung mag-enroll ka, okay na eh. Siyempre, di ba, gusto mo rin yung nakikita mo, yung mga batang kina-guide mo ngayon, has something to do with their future din. Pag nakakita ka na, yung, di ba, siguro, we've been so long here in the school industry, ang sarap din ng pakiramdam na binabalikan ka ng mga bata, tapos professional na sila lahat, tapos thanking you, even the families thanking you. So, iba yung joy. Hindi yun ang nababayaran ng kahit ano eh. You were able to be a part of that family. And yung family na yun is always be thankful. Kahit na sabihin mong nag-guide lang kami, hindi naman kami talaga nagtrabaho lahat. Pero yung naging part ka ng family na yun, is a very talagang a big thank you na yun eh para sa akin. Kasi, di ba, madalas nare-recognize kami na ang dami pumapasa sa UP, ganyan. Yung credit naman is not all mine eh. A part of that talaga, thankful ako doon sa mga magulang na nag-guide sa mga batang yun. So, kung maintindihan lang sana ng lahat na yung family is very important in bringing up a child, ang ganda-ganda siguro ng world na titirhan natin eh. Alam mo yun? Di ba? Very ideal na yung mga bata well-disciplined, yung ano mo na, andun na lahat. So, malaki yun. Kaya hindi na nga ako tumigil eh, nung nakilala ko si Irma eh. Si Irma kasi ang pinaka-ano ko talaga eh, yung saka si Dodet, nung namit ko yung Proverbs 20, di ba? Sabi ko, wow, ang gagaling ng mga magulang na to, sabi ko. Tapos, yung style pa ng turo nila, iba-iba, bawat bata, imagine.
Oo, I think Ate Irma.
Malaki na natutuwa ko eh.
Ate, 8 ba anak niya? 6, okay.
6. O sa akin lahat na gano'n. Imagine, iba-iba yung approaches niya. Tapos tinatanong ko nga siya, tuntawa ko, talaga, nagagawa mo lahat yan. Imagine yung pagmamahal ng magulang sa anak, hindi talaga kayang pantayan.
Yeah, I just want to introduce lang si Ate Irma. She's been, I think, with 6 kids. I think she's been homeschooling for more than 20 years. So veteran na po siya. So I hope one day we'll be able to also invite her here. Para lang magkaroon kayo ng perspective about her. Yes, Gina.
Ako, bakit ako nagsimula ng provider? We're only 3 years old. Hindi ako, Peniel, na yan eh, institution na. Ako, baby pa lang po ako. And honestly, it's all because of my passion to teach, to share. It all started when nagtuturo po ako ng mga homeschoolers, nagkikita-kita, and then nag-grow po yung community. We may mga nagkaroon po ng vision on how we can educate children, but we can't necessarily implement it because there's no exact Charlotte Mason provider who truly understands the method. And so from there, people were asking me already, Gina, kasi gawa ka na. Honestly, wala po sa radar ko. I just bigla na lang pong, nanganak. And then finally, just an opportunity came when I met a school who understands my vision as well. And then there it is. And unti-unti po kung hanggang ngayon po, I'm still learning. I'm still, andito pa rin po yung passion ko to share. And I think doon nagsimula. So, hindi po ako nanggaling sa dahil parang ang weird ng starting point ko. Kasi sa totoo lang, leap of faith. I was, the structure, everything, I didn't know what I was doing at first. I just said, you know what, I just want to share this love for learning. And unti-unti lang po siya nag-build. And then, nagkaroon kami ng, home education program. Wala lang. So, yun lang po. It all came from there. My passion to share.
Naalala ko yan.
Yeah, yun
talaga.
talaga.
Tanong niya sa akin dati, sabi ko, magtayo ka ng school mo.
Oo nga, buti na lang.
Teacher ako dyan.
Nako, buti na lang at nag-decide kayo na, i-sustain being a provider because we really need you in this community. And I do believe, no, because of sharing your passion to us right now and your heart and how do you love the families and the kids, no? Maraming salamat and sana po ay mag-multiply pa kayo at makatulong pa kayo sa madaming henerasyon. But for my last question is, syempre if there's an independent homeschooler here or a homeschooler na maybe na bago pa lang siya or talagang siguro last year nasa traditional siya, nag-iisip siya mag-homeschool with the type of audience. What can you advise?
Okay, what can I share to independent homeschoolers and even homeschoolers in general? For me, I think before going and trying to choose the right provider, I think it is important that you actually know your vision for your family. What kind of structure do you want for your family? Kasi po, like what I said a while ago, I was also an independent homeschooler for a time, and I understand some reasons for that. And so, continue to evaluate every year kung ano po yung need nyo as a family. But honestly, when LLH happened, when I was finally part of a community, and I was actually accountable also to pass to pass grades and to pass portfolios and all of these things. Naha-heighten po yung yung responsibility ko. It helps me yung accountability talaga. So again, know your family, know your needs. Ilista nyo po kung kasi like what I said, ang iba-iba pong provider, ibang provider ito pong ino-offer, iba pong provider ito rin ang ino-offer. From there makikita nyo po at mag-resonate sa inyo kung ano yung values ng provider na gusto nyo, ay ito, sakto to sa paniniwala ko. So yun lang po.
Gina, thank you so much. That's really a very good advice. Ate Al?
It will depend pa rin sa need kasi ng family. Kasi di ba, as a family, you have your choices. Now, yung iba kasi, when they decided to go independent, alam na nila yung risk ng going independent. So, knowing the risk, sigurado, they also know the solution. Kung if I'm going to go independent, this will be the solution. So, take the PEPT, etc. Now, for those naman who would like to try independent kasi of financial difficulty, tapos wala kang plans kung anong gagawin mo dun sa mga bata na yan, I don't suggest you do that. Kasi yung iba na nag-enroll sa amin, they went independent because of financial constraint. Then later, na-decide pala nila, kailangan ko pala, may other plans pala for the kids. Tapos ngayon, naka-hold yung mga bata kasi walang PEPT for almost 2 years. So kawawa naman yung mga bata. So you should know kung ano yung plans nyo as a family. Then you make your choices. Plan A, pag ako ba nag-independent, can I wait this long bago ko makuha yung accreditation ng mga anak ko? Plan B, if I intend to do this for a year or 2, ano yung plan ko in the event na I was not able to take the PEPT? So there's always a risk factor. So you should know. Kasi choices yan decision talaga lahat yan. So kung gusto mo safe, gusto mo may susundan kang methods, meron kang susundan na policy, then go for a provider. Pero hindi ko naman sinabing masama rin yung mag-independent ka kasi there's a lot of people who are doing independent that's so good. So walang it's talagang it boils down again to choices. Saka yung need uli ng family. So yung iba kasi kaya daw nila ayaw ng provider. May deadline. Ayaw nila ng stress. Syempre, kung may, katulad ng sabi ni Gina, accountability, kung you decided to go to a provider, there's an accountability, your accountability is to submit the grades. Kami naman, may accountability naman kami sa DepEd. It's chain reaction Kaya kami nagpapa-account kasi may accountability rin kami na dapat i-provide. We cannot just give grades Yun yung akala nila pag nag-provider ka, bahala na yung provider sa grades. Hindi, gagawin mo pa rin yung dapat mong ituro sa mga bata. Then, based on your records, yun din ang isasubmit namin sa DepEd. So, ikaw, pag-isipan mo talaga kung if you go to independent or you will go with a provider. Ang mahirap ngayon, let's say yung grade 10, di ba nag-decide ka mag-independent, walang PEPT. Ano mangyayari ngayon sa mga bata? Walang homeschool ng 11 and 12. So, kawawa. So, you really have to think. Plan the future ahead para yung mga bata hindi sa sacrifice.
Maraming salamat po, Gina and Ate Out. Magaganda yung mga advices nyo. No, I do believe, no, making choices, especially with our kids, we always want the best for our kids, di ba?
Yeah.
We want the best for them. You, Gina and Ate Au, you have the desire to help, but at the end of the day, kayo po ang magde-decide, no? But I do believe one of the things that I've learned in choosing a provider is don't really compare yourself with other homeschoolers. Hindi porket, uy, nandito sa living learning si, gantong family, dito na lang ako. Hindi po yun eh. You have your own vision and mission. Or nasa Peniel, madami ako narinig na ganyan. Iba-iba kayong pamilya. So you're unique. God has given you a unique family. So decide individually, where is God putting you? And I do believe one of the things that I look for a provider is the trust. Yung tiwala.
Yeah.
Iba talaga pag yung tiwala that I can really talk to the principal like Ate Au and Gina right now. I can talk to them. But iba yun eh. Iba yung pag meron akong nakakausap na alam kong mali yung ginagawa ko in my homeschooling journey. There are some people who will be able to speak to my life. And that's really important because part of growing up is you need people who have a lot of wisdom on how to gauge these, especially the legalities. And I'm so thankful with the providers like you, no? I do believe that hopefully as you train the parents, no, and equip them, they will be able to have good mindsets about providers as well. So maraming salamat sa inyong input. Alam ko na makakatulong itong podcast natin at itong YouTube natin na feature. And I do believe na kung kayo po ay nakikinig at you are watching with us right now, if you have any questions, please give us some feedbacks about this conversation. And if you think that this is something that you need to share, please do share as well. So Ate Gina and Au, do you have something to announce before we end our podcast?
Siguro if you have inquiries na lang po about Peniel, just go to our website.
Okay, go to the Facebook account.
Or Facebook or website. Yan.
Kami naman sarado ng namin for the school year, our enrollment for the school year, because I know I want to limit it, but if you are interested, next year we open as early as Feb, but we end really early because now we want to limit. But if you are interested in Charlotte Mason kind of learning, and if you want living books, you can find classes and the books themselves at ourlivinglearning.com. Yun po.
Yes, follow Gina in Our Living Learning in Instagram. And I think you also have an open Facebook, no? Yes, and I think they also have a website of their shop. Sobrang gaganda pong living books. Maraming salamat. Okay, thank you Ate Gina and Al for your time. Thank you for your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you.
Salamat.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation and be able to see you soon. Na sana mahag ko kayo dahil after
this
pandemic.
Doon lang tayo sa conference o di magkita.
Yes. Marami pong salamat, homeschoolers. Ako po si Novi Antan, your homeschool coach. At lagi lang po nating tatandaan, in homeschooling, relationship is more important than academics. Maraming salamat po.